We are in lesson 1 of our Celebrate Recovery program, and lesson 1 deals with principle 1 and step 1 of our 12 steps. Principle 1 reads, I realize I'm not God. I admit that I'm powerless to control my tendency to do the wrong thing and that my life is unmanageable. Happy are those who know they are spiritually poor. Step 1, we read, we admitted we were powerless over our addictions and compulsive behaviors, that our lives had become unmanageable. I know that nothing good lives in me, that is, in my sinful nature, for I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. Romans 7 verse 18. So tonight we begin a journey together, a journey down the road of healing and recovery. This journey begins with principle 1, where we admit that we are powerless to control our tendency to do the wrong thing and that our lives have become unmanageable, out of control. But before we begin this exciting journey together, we need to ask ourselves 2 questions. Firstly, am I going to let my past failures prevent me from taking this journey? And secondly, am I afraid to change? Or what are my fears of the future? Well, let's take a look, first of all, at our failures from the past. In Hebrews 12, verse 1, we read, Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. There are 2 things that I would like to point out in this verse. First, God has a particular race, a unique plan for each of us. In John 10:10, Jesus tells us that the life He intends for us is a life of abundance, not one full of dependencies, addictions, and obsessions. The second thing is that we need to be willing to get rid of everything that impedes our running. These are weights that may not even be sins, but nevertheless make perseverance difficult. These could even be all the unnecessary baggage, the past failures in our lives that keep us stuck. Again, it says, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. Let us strip off everything that slows us down, in other words, or holds us back, and especially those sins that wrap themselves so tightly around our feet and trip us up. For many of us, our past hurts, hang-ups, and habits hold us back. They trip us up. Many of us are stuck in bitterness over what someone has done to us. We continue to hold on to the hurt, and we refuse to forgive the ones who had hurt us. You may have been hurt deeply. Perhaps you were abused as a child, or maybe you have experienced abuse in a relationship. I want you to know that I hurt for you. I'm truly sorry for you. Sorry that you had to go through that hurt. But holding on to that hurt and not being willing to forgive the person who hurt you in the past is allowing them to continue to hurt you today in the present. It is tripping you up and holding you back from experiencing God's best for you. Working this Christ-centered recovery program will, with God's power, allow you to find the courage and strength to forgive them. Now, don't get all stressed out. You don't have to forgive them right now. But as you travel down your road to recovery, God will help you find the willingness to forgive them and to be free of their hold on your life. Some of you are bound by guilt. You keep beating yourself up over some past failure. You're trapped, stuck in your guilt. You think that no one anywhere is as bad as you are, that no one could love the real you, and that no one could ever forgive you for the terrible things that you have done. Well, let me tell you something, you're wrong, because God can. That's why Jesus went to the cross for our sins. He knows everything you've ever done and everything you've ever experienced. Many folk have gone through this program and experienced the freedom that Christ's gift of forgiveness offers. All have faced similar failures and hurts in life and are available to encourage and support you. The Apostle Paul had a lot to regret about his past. He even participated in Stephen's murder. Yet, in Philippians 3 verse 13, he tells us, "Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it. But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining towards what is ahead." Paul did not look back. The apostle did not mean that he refused to remember things that had happened to him in the past. Just prior to stating this, he had just reviewed some of those things in the verses before that he had done. But he had abandoned the unworthy goal that he had pursued in the past. Now he had a new goal towards which he was looking and running. Pastor and author Warren Wiersbe says this about Paul: "Forget those wrongs done, e.g., the persecution of the church and so on, whose memory could paralyze one with guilt and despair. Forget too those attainments so far achieved as a Christian, the recollection of which might cause one to put life into neutral and to say, 'I have arrived.' Forget in such a way that the past, good or bad, will have no negative bearing on one's present spiritual growth or conduct." Here's the bottom line. If you want to be free from your past hurts, hang-ups, and habits, you need to deal with your past bitterness and guilt once and for all. That doesn't mean ignore the past. You need to learn from your past, offer forgiveness, make amends, and then release it. Only then can you be free from your guilt, grudges, and grief. Let's face it, we have all stumbled over a hurt, a hang-up, or a habit. But the race isn't over yet. That's the great news. God isn't interested in how we started, but how we finish the race. The race that we are to run with perseverance is an endurance race, a marathon, not a 100-meter sprint. And it's the same with this program. It's not a silver bullet. So if you're looking for a silver bullet that will cure you of all your ills, this isn't going to be the one to do it. It's a marathon. But it is a marathon and a race that, if you persevere, will bring about wonderful rewards. So that's dealing with failures from the past. What about fears for the future? You may worry about your future and are afraid to change. We all worry about things that we do not have any control over and do not have the power to change. And we all know that worrying is actually, in reality and truthfully, a lack of trust in God. The truth is, we can say without any doubt or fear and with real confidence, "The Lord is my helper, so I will have no fear. What can people do to me?" You may have been in your hurt, habit, or hang-up for so long that it has become your identity. You may be thinking, what will happen if I really give recovery a chance? Will I change? If I give up my old hurts, hang-ups, and habits, what will I become? Who will I be? You may have been abusing alcohol, prescription drugs, or food. You're afraid of what you will do without your substance of choice. You may have been enabling someone in a dysfunctional relationship for years. Perhaps you wonder, what if I change and my husband gets mad at me? God doesn't want you to stay frozen in an unhealthy relationship or a bad habit. He wants you to do your part in becoming healthy. Even if our past was extremely painful, however, we may still resist change and the freedom that can be found in really working this program. Because of our fear of the unknown or because of our despair, we just close our minds because we think that we don't deserve any better. Well, as you work these steps, remember what it says in 1 John 4:18. Where God's love is, there is no fear, because God's perfect love drives out fear. You are not here by mistake. And it is my prayer for you that you will not let your past failures or your fear of your future stop you from giving Celebrate Recovery a real try. Next week, when we get together again, we're going to discuss denial. Before we can take the first step of our healing, we must first face and admit our denial. Next week, we'll look at what that entails and discover how to remove that mask of denial that we have grown so accustomed to hiding behind.